that time. Okay, faculty comp, I am not going, I mean, this is, the whole class could be taught on faculty compensation, and I would not be the right instructor for that class, but I can talk to you about how it intersects with research administration. So, you know, you may remember that Nancy Lonhart talked to us earlier in one of the earlier sessions about what do we use when we are working on salary capping, when we're working on budgeting for proposals, when we're charging effort. It's base plus variable. That's the main salary that you see in the salary tab in the DOM dashboard, and then plus any administrative supplements, because the administrative supplement is distributed to all the PTAs, all the awards, and non-sponsored accounts that the PI's effort is charging to. So when you're doing your capping, when you're doing your budgeting, it's the whole salary, base plus variable plus administrative supplement. So where do you go? You go into the dashboard. That's always my starting point. And then I do also check in with the division manager for the salary letters. I also run the actual pay report in BI, and I take a paycheck and I make sure I isolate the salary. I do a pivot table and I isolate the salary and I multiply that by 24 and I make sure I double check. I like to get the source, as many different sources as possible, so that I know 100% that I've got the right number. And this is a discussion down here about full-time equivalency. 100% is the max. Nobody can be more than 100%. I know faculty work many more hours than 40 a week, but that's what's officially there. So research-only faculty on 12-month appointments may charge 95% to sponsored projects year-round. They must reserve 5% for non-sponsored. We have that link about commitment of effort. And then we talked in a previous session about the Stanford and Veterans Affairs appointments. There are specialized calculations based on the 8ths. We talked about that in detail. I won't get into that anymore today, except that if you have a VA faculty member, or if you see something unusual, say your faculty member's salary is only $35,000 a year, well, that's a flag to you that probably they have a VA appointment and they have very little time that they're spending at Stanford, and that's just a small piece of their overall compensation. I wanted to show you guys, I have an overview of the faculty tenure lines, just because sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, that person's a CE. Well, what is a CE? It's a clinician educator. The medical center line, these are the physician focused, and then the university tenure line. These are the ones we work with the most as research administrators. These are the researchers, the UTL. So these are the ones we are most often interacting with. There may be non-tenure lines as well. You don't hear as much from these folks who are doing the clinical work, although that does change, and obviously we have clinical trial activity for that. So there's a big presentation here. I won't go into the details, but it actually talks about how the progression from assistant to associate to full professor, how many years are involved, and kind of what is required to do the promotion. So, check it out. I think it's useful to understand kind of what is the faculty member, what kind of world they're operating in, and how research can really influence that, and their impact, their scholarship, their publications, their grant awards all play into this promotion structure and what line they're in. I also want to talk to you just a little bit about sabbatical leave. Sometimes faculty do take sabbatical. And when they do that, the research administrator, we want to be pretty involved in making sure that the grants are taken care of while they're on leave. So they need to determine how much of their time while they're gone they're going to devote to each project, and whether that time is going to be charged directly to the awards or it's going to be charged without cost. So I just want to point out a couple of documents that you're going to need to get from the division manager in order to make sure that you're setting up the effort charging accurately while they're away. You need to get page 1 of the completed sabbatical form from the division manager, and that's going to tell you about the charging. And I've got it here, setting up the labor schedule during sabbatical. There are 2 places where the effort is addressed. Page 1 is the distribution and PTAs for the labor schedule, actually what's being charged. And then there's this other document, attachment A, and this lists all of the faculty members sponsored projects, what their effort commitments are, and what effort commitment they're going to actually put on the grant during the sabbatical period. Sometimes the division manager will just give you attachment A and think that, cool, you have everything you need. You don't, because you need page 1 to set up the labor schedule. Attachment A, you work with RMG to determine whether or not you have adequately addressed the effort commitments, whether they're still being met. And then if they're actually reducing effort on any of these grants during that period, then beyond the 25%, you need to get the prior approval, just like you would in any other situation. And sometimes the PI will actually temporarily change. And so in these cases, we have the central office requests, so if your PI is planning to reduce effort, they need to work with RMG to request prior approval. That's either sponsor approval for PI effort change, or it could be sponsor approval for actually changing PI. I've seen both of those things happen. Even if the PI is only on leave for 2 or 3 months, we have to formally change the PI to someone else and then formally change it back when they come back. So there's a lot of detail here about how to set up the faculty members charging an effort during sabbatical, including how to handle the VA partial sabbatical, which is really the toughest kind of labor schedule to put together. So I won't be going over that in a ton of detail here, but you know that resource is out there.